Okay, hi guys. Sorry about that. So I'm guessing good evening, good night to you guys. And good morning to me. So hi guys, I'm here at David Ben-Gurion's desert home in Sde Boker. And we're about to start our tour in David Ben-Gurion's desert home here. But before that, I'm gonna ask you a question. I ask this everyone who comes here, if it's virtual or not virtual. What do you guys know about David Ben-Gurion? You can unmute yourself, you can write in the chat. Ask this everyone who comes here.
He was the first Prime Minister of Israel.
Yes, he was the first Prime Minister of Israel. Anything else?
He decided that Israel needed a single language and it was going to be Hebrew.
Yeah, Hebrew was very important to him, and we're going to see soon how important it was for him that everyone will speak Hebrew. I also saw someone that he named the state, the state of Israel. He was the one who declared the independence of Israel in 1948. So really, there's a lot of stuff that he did, and we're going to watch a short video and maybe get to know a bit more about this person who's called David Ben-Gurion, the first prime minister. So enjoy the movie, and we'll come back in a few more minutes. Inbar, the movie. Inbar.
Yes, like just a second.
Yeah, so I just saw, Esther wrote in the group, just so you know, we reopened the site today after a long lockdown. So enjoy the movie.
David Ben-Gurion. What do we really know about this short man, but of great stature? Strong-willed, visionary leader who liked to stand on his head. Ben-Gurion was born in 1886 in Goat Alley in the Polish town of Plonsk, which is where he first dreamed of independence for the Jewish people in the land of Israel. Even when he was still young, he was able to visualize the greater picture, and he understood that the Hebrew language was the basis through which to awaken patriotism among the Jews. So, in 1900, he and a few friends established the Ezra youth movement. The goal was to strengthen the knowledge of Hebrew in their town and also to teach the language to poor children. However, there was considerable opposition among the leaders of the Jewish community in Plonsk to Ezra's activities. About a year later, its members looked for other fields of activity. But Ben-Gurion did not give up. He started his political journey by joining the Poalei Zion party and making Aliyah to the land of Israel in 1906. On his second day in the land of Israel, he started working in the orchards of Petach Tikva and strongly believed that Jews must work the land and settle the country. Ben-Gurion understood that work and the laborers would be the key to promoting the struggle for independence. The working class would lead the nation. Ben-Gurion worked tirelessly to realize his vision, the unification of all of the workers in Israel into one organization. And in fact, in 1920, various labor groups united, and the General Federation of Workers in Israel, the Histadrut, was established. Ben-Gurion was elected secretary a year after the Histadrut was established and remained one of its pioneering leaders. Under his leadership, the Histadrut and the workers became the backbone of Jewish settlement and the Zionist movement. Ben-Gurion pursued his goal with determination and became the national leader who turned his vision into reality. In 1937, when the British proposed a plan for the partition of the land of Israel, Ben-Gurion recognized that they were being offered a window of opportunity to establish the Jewish state, even if that meant a compromise over the size of the country. According to that same perception of the greater picture, Ben-Gurion concluded that the establishment of the state depended first and foremost on its ability to defend it. Therefore, in 1946, he accepted the defense portfolio and conducted a seminar. He taught himself about the subject of security over several months and prepared the groundwork for establishing a regular army of Jews to defend the country, the IDF. On November 29, 1947, the United Nations approved the partition plan. But as Ben-Gurion had feared, the War of Independence broke out very soon after that, and he undertook the leadership position. Ben-Gurion understood that Jerusalem, which was under siege, was of huge symbolic and practical significance. So in the spring of 1948, he gave the command for Operation Nachshon to break through the siege of the city, and he insisted on concentrating forces from all over the country to this end, despite the misgivings of the military commanders. After tenacious combat, the operation succeeded and became a turning point in the war. In May 1948, Ben-Gurion declared independence, becoming the first prime minister of the State of Israel. He spearheaded a policy of ingathering of the exiles, and the population doubled within 4 years. Now, thousands of immigrants had to be settled, and Ben-Gurion aspired to establishing an ideal society in the land of Israel. In 1953, Ben-Gurion decided to retire from the premiership and to go up to Sde Boker in the Negev. Here, he yearned for a simple life, working the land, and he set about fulfilling another vision, pioneering and making the desert wilderness blossom. Thus, the boy who in Plonsk had dreamed of a Hebrew-speaking town became the leader who, against all odds, brought about the establishment of a homeland for the Jewish people in the land of Israel. Ben-Gurion knew how to look into the future with determination and optimism, or in his own words, dare, persevere, succeed.
So I hope you guys enjoyed the movie. So as I said, I'm here now in Sde Boker, in David Ben-Gurion's desert home. Now, I understood that you guys were in a virtual tour in his house in Tel Aviv, right? Yes, no? Yes. Yes, I can see the things. So we're about to see something very different. The house is, there are some similarities and some stuff that are different. But before we go in, I want to tell you the story of how David Ben-Gurion got here. So as the first prime minister, David Ben-Gurion in 1952 drove around in this area. He went to visit an army base. And on the way back, he saw a group of young people in their tents that he knew that weren't there before. He forced his driver to stop, and he went to ask these people, "Who are you? What brought you here?" And they said that they were soldiers who fought here during the Independence War, and they fell in love with this area, and they decided to build a settlement here in Sde Boker and call it Sde Boker. David Ben-Gurion was so impressed, he went back to his house in Tel Aviv, and he wrote 2 letters. The first one was the retirement of being Prime Minister of Israel. The second letter that he wrote was to the people here in Sde Boker, where he wrote that he never felt this feeling called envy. But when he saw them here building a new settlement in the Negev, in his favorite area in Israel, he did feel a bit of jealousy, and he asked to join them. So the answer is actually obvious. I'm here now standing next to his house, in front of his house in Sde Boker. So they did, in fact, accept him and his wife Paula to Sde Boker. So we're gonna go inside the house now. So of course, if you have any questions during the tour, you're welcome to either, you can write in the chat, or you can unmute yourself and ask. Before we, part of his will, where he wrote that he wishes that the home in Sde Boker and all that is in it, and the library will be open to the general public. He asked that his house would be open, that people will be able to come and visit his house and see how he lived and get to know him through his house. And also he asked that the building which served as my home to my dying day will be conserved in the present state, including all the furniture, books, and periodic calls. So of course, we do a lot of preservation work in this house. And soon you'll see, we actually took advantage of the lockdown that we had a few weeks ago, and we sent all the fabric in the house, all the curtains and all the carpets and the clothes. We send them to be professionally cleaned, and now we're in the process of putting it all back, of course, by professionals only. You'll soon see. So this is David Ben-Gurion and Paula's house. I'm going to give you a quick look and then we'll go in a bit closer through everything. As you can see, usually there are ropes here. People can't just go over and touch and look at everything. But because I'm here by myself, so you guys get a very special behind the ropes tour up close. So the first thing that we see, it kind of catches your eye because it's so big. It's almost as big as the door next to it. There's a map of Israel. This map is from 1953. As you can see, there's the green line, the borders that were after the independence war in 1948 till 1967. A very, very big map, which shows you how important Israel was to David Ben-Gurion. Excuse me. Over here we have, does anybody recognize who this guy is?
גלית, לא שומעים אותך.
Oh, can you hear me now? Excuse me. Sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. So I saw someone, Lincoln. So this is Abraham Lincoln, the 16th president of America during the Civil War. And he was the one who freed the slaves. And as you can see, he's written here, the words behind him is the Declaration of Emancipation of the slaves. Next to it, we see there are a few family pictures. There's a picture of David Ben-Gurion and Paula, his wife. And right next to it, there's a picture of his 3 kids. David and Paula had 3 children, Geula, Amos, and Renana. All the kids, 3 of the kids passed away already. But he has a lot of, excuse me. Grandchildren and great-grandchildren and great-great-great-grandchildren that are still alive. We have your phone. Usually I ask kids what this is. Some of them don't know, some of them do know. I'm guessing you guys know what this is. It's a phone. You have to turn the dial around. And down here, there's a pretty cool, this is, I think, my favorite thing in the house. It's a Chanukiah, doesn't seem very special from looking at it. But inside there's a little music box. And this Chanukiah actually plays the Tikva, which is the national anthem of Israel. So it's a pretty cool Chanukiah, I think. And then I asked kids what this is. So a lot of them say the options are a microwave. Some say it's a radio. But this is a TV. Then some of them understand that it's a television. They all ask me, of course, if it still works, if it doesn't work. I actually don't know. My guess is that it doesn't. But as you can see with the living room, David Ben-Gurion didn't really watch the television. He didn't like TVs. He didn't want televisions to come into Israel. He thought it would ruin the youth. But he got it as a present, and it's not polite to bring back presents. So it is left here. Another thing that kids think it's a radio is this. It's an air conditioning. And it's actually in a very big company in Israel called Tadiran that makes air conditioning still today. So David Ben-Gurion had 4 of these in his house, which was also pretty much very rare. A lot of people didn't have these in the kibbutz at the time. Over here, there are a lot of presents and souvenirs from David Ben-Gurion's many travels, presents that he got from people from all over the world. And then I show kids this, and they think it's from Australia. There, I asked them, how do you think this got here? And they say, oh, it's probably a present from Australia. But actually, this is one of the grandchildren left it in the house. Poor kid left it here, close to probably the day he died. And his koala bear was left here forever. So are there any questions up till now?
I think we'll save them for the Q&A near the end.
Okay, no problem, no problem. So we'll continue. Another cool thing that I like about this house is this picture here. Over here we have the menorah with the olive branches on the side, which is the symbol of Israel. But if you move to the side, the picture changes. And you can see David Ben-Gurion. And on the other side, there's Yitzhak Ben-Zvi, who was the second president of Israel. They were actually really good friends. They studied together in Turkish. They studied law together. And that's a pretty cool present that's here in the house. So we're gonna move on to the bedrooms. So the first bedroom is David Ben-Gurion's bedroom. As you can see, there are no carpets because I said that they were being sent to cleaning and we still haven't put it back yet. As you can see here, there's one of the blankets that's still in the bag that has been cleaned. David Ben-Gurion has about 50 books near his bedside table, which shows you how much he loved to read. As you can see, there's a book here that's open, probably the last book that he read. It's about Jerusalem in French. That's been left open. There's a safe. There were of his personal weapons. There were a lot of different documents that were taken away and other stuff. And here I'm going to show you the clothes that has just been sent back from cleaning. Of course, I'm wearing my gloves so I can show you. So he had clothes for all of the different occasions. He had a nice suit for when he needed to go to meetings. He had an army jacket for when he was with soldiers. He had his khaki uniform, his work uniform, which he loved to wear. This was his favorite uniform. And a very, very long fur coat. I don't know if you can see how long this is. Someone told me yesterday that they checked that the coat is actually taller than him. Like it went past his legs. And yeah, here in the desert in the Negev, it gets pretty cold at night, especially in the winter. So he needed a nice coat. And I don't know if you realize, but there's no pictures on the walls here in this room. There's actually only one picture in this whole bedroom. Does anybody recognize who this is?
Gandhi.
So yeah, so this is Mahatma Gandhi. This is the only picture in David Ben-Gurion's bedroom. Ask me why, I have no idea. I really don't know. It's a mystery to me. But Mahatma Gandhi was a leader in India, and he was a non-violent. He believed in non-violence and no use of weapons. And this is the only picture in his bedroom. Now I understood that you guys were in his house in Tel Aviv. Do you guys remember why they slept in separate bedrooms? Because also in Tel Aviv, they have 2 separate bedrooms.
I've had a few people message me asking why.
Okay. So first, let me show you Paula's bedroom. As you can see, here is Olga. Sorry, wow, I'm very confused right now. Here's Olga. She's a preservation expert, and she is now putting back the drapes in Paula's bedroom. So the reason why they slept in separate bedrooms was because, as we saw, David Ben-Gurion loved to read, and he believed that sleep was a waste of time. He used to sleep only like 3 hours a night. And Paula was a normal person who wanted to sleep, and that they don't bother each other. They decided to sleep in separate bedrooms. And unlike Ben-Gurion's bedroom, Paula's bedroom is filled with pictures. Has plenty of pictures of the kids and the grandchildren over here on the table. It's kind of hard. These pictures we're taking in the house in Tel Aviv of the kids and the grandchildren. I don't know if you can recognize from your tour there. There's drawings that the grandchildren drew for them. Over here you can see the drapes that are being worked on to be put in back. There's a picture of David Ben-Gurion and one of his grandchildren. I think it's kind of like a rare picture. Usually you don't see him like this. You know, you see him as like a serious leader and the builder of the state. And here you see him just kissing one of his granddaughters. I think it's a really lovely picture. Another picture of the grandchildren. Here are Paula's famous sunglasses. If you look in the internet and look for a picture of Paula, you'll probably see her with these sunglasses. So we're going to continue. Say hi to Olga. Hi. So we're going to continue. We saw how David Ben-Gurion was connected to the world. He believed that, we're a huge world and we have to be connected. And I think we see it now, this is maybe some of yours first time here, maybe in Israel and maybe in Sde Boker. It's my first time in Australia with you guys. I think this COVID made us become all connected. Here is a huge globe to show you guys. And as you can see, this globe is pretty big. It comes to me till about my shoulder. Do you use the metric?
Yeah, we have the metric.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm about 1.63 meters, which is about average height in Israel. And I want to show you here, there's a picture of David Ben-Gurion standing next to the globe. He was a bit shorter than I was. He got to him till about his ear. He was about only 1.5 meters, but he did such big and great things that we like to see. He might have been small and short, but he did big and great things. The next room I would like to show you is the kitchen. So it's actually pretty surprising that there's a kitchen here because in the 1950s, when you lived in a place that's a kibbutz, which is a communal style of living, usually you don't have a kitchen. You eat in the dining room with everybody else. But Paula wanted her kitchen. She didn't trust anyone with her food. So there's a kitchen here, even though usually there are no kitchens in the kibbutz at that time. So we can see there's a fridge, some sinks, nice a tea set for when the queen comes to visit. There's a stove and an oven. Some kids tell me that it looks like a toy, that it looks fake, but it's not. I also kind of think it looks fake, but it's not. And over here, there's a blender that Paula used actually quite a lot. As you can see here, there's the menu, what David Ben-Gurion used to eat every day. And twice a day, Paula used to make him a smoothie called kuchmuch. It says here kuchmuch. In the evening, in the erev kuchmuch, and in the morning kuchmuch. Basically, it was made of yogurt, some sort of cream cheese, applesauce, and raspberry syrup. It sounds disgusting, but some people actually tasted it and said it tasted fine. But David Ben-Gurion also thought it was disgusting. He hated it. He hated every second of it. But Paula made him drink it. So because Paula said he will. And even after Paula passed away 5 years before he did, he kept drinking it. And his daughter, Geula, asked him, Dad, you can stop. Mom's not here. You don't have to suffer. You can stop drinking it. It's okay. But he answered that because of his love to Paula and memory of her, he kept drinking it till the day he died. So we're going to move on to the last room in the house, which is the study. So we saw how much David Ben-Gurion loved to read. Over here in the study, there are a few more books. Do you remember how many books are in the house in Tel Aviv when you were there?
A lot.
Does anybody remember? How many? Yeah, so there were thousands. So in Tel Aviv, there are about 20,000 books, 22,000 books. Yeah, I saw someone wrote 20. And over here, there's just a small part, only 5,000 books. And as I probably told you, David Ben-Gurion read in 9 different languages. He read in Hebrew, English, Russian, German, Turkish, Greek, Latin, Spanish, and French. And he read a book in many different subjects, seriously, in any subject you can think of. Now we're gonna go over to his desk. As you can see, the desk looks quite neat and nice. I wanna show you a picture of David Ben-Gurion sitting in his desk. Not as neat and nice. He was a bit of a mess over here. But of course, now it looks much better. I saw a question in the chat. I think, first of all, about the Yiddish. I think he knew Yiddish, but he never, like when people used to ask him what languages he knew, he never said Yiddish, because I think it reminded him too much of, you know, of the Gola and of, how do you say Gola in English? Kind of got stuck. Esther, help.
Gola is like diaspora.
The diaspora.
Yeah.
Diaspora.
Yeah, so I think he knew Yiddish, and I even think there's a book in here in Yiddish, but he never declared that he knew Yiddish. And about how did he have time? Well, basically after he retired, so a lot of languages he knew from before, you know, English, Hebrew, Russian, he was born in Russia. Turkish he knew because he lived during the time of the Turkish Empire. German he knew because when he studied in Turkish, when he studied law in Turkish, the school was in German, so he had to know German. And the rest he just used to teach himself. Every time he got a book in a language he didn't know, he used to teach himself the language to read in the original language because he believed that the translation loses its meaning. So after he retired, basically all he did with his life was read and study and write. In the last 10 years of his life, he wrote a lot of books. He wrote about 30 books during his life, but most of them were in those last 10 years. And yeah, I saw a question. He did live in Turkey for a while when he was studying, but then he was exiled during the First World War. And then he moved to America where he met his wife, where he met Paula. So yeah, he lived in Turkey for a while. I saw another question, but I think I missed it. So if we can write it down and I'll remember at the end, then I'll appreciate it. Over here on the table, there are a few other books that he had. He has a Tehillim book and a nice Tanakh book, a big Tanakh book over here. And I'll show you here. There's an English-Hebrew dictionary, which is how he learned the languages. His original reading glasses are over here at the table, and some more pictures of his grandchildren and his kids, and a picture of a very important moment in his life, the Declaration of Independence. Over here, another thing that kids don't know what it is, which is a radio. A lot of kids also think it's a microwave. Ooh, I had some kids think it's a printer. A lot of kids told me lately that they think it's a printer. So on the radio right here, and right in front of him in the highest shelf in the house, There's a leader that he really looked up to. You know, he put him in the most important place in the house and the highest shelf, a statue of Moses. Wait, I'm going to show you in a minute. 1 second. There we go. It's actually a replica of the statue by Michelangelo that's in Italy. There's another air conditioning here. As I said, there are 4 in this house. This is not what's keeping me warm right now, but it did keep him warm then. So I think now is the time for questions.
Yeah, we've got a few here that have been sent to me. So we'll just kick it off. Do we know who originally built the house?
I think it's a company called Solel Bonnet. I think all the wood and stuff came from Switzerland. They bought it here, and then like a company in Israel that built houses then just built it. Of course, but at the beginning in 1953 when it was built, it was much smaller. The whole area of his bedroom was not here at the beginning. And David Ben-Gurion moved here in 1953 and 55. He was called back to be the Minister of Defense. And then in 63, when he resigned the second time, they expanded the house. They added his bedroom. So it was much smaller then. And then in 63 is what you can see now.
We've got some in the chat there. Are any of his descendants, or do you know if any of his descendants are involved in politics? Very few.
So no, none of them were involved in politics. Not his kids, not his grandchildren. We do know who they are. Every year on his Memorial Day, they come and visit, you know, all the grandchildren and the great-grandchildren and the great-great-grandchildren already he has. As I said, the kids all passed away. But all his grandchildren are still alive. I think his oldest one is about 70 today. His oldest grandchild is about 70, but none of them are like in politics. Like people here in Israel, like they never heard of his descendants at all.
Is there a bathroom and a laundry?
Okay, so there is a bathroom. I'll show you. There's actually 2 bathrooms in here because, as I said, the whole area of his bedroom was an expansion, and it was they just took another house and they added it on. So there was another bathroom in it. So this is one. And the second bathroom is over here next to his bedroom. Here's the shower and the tub. And over here, there was a toilet, but now it's an electricity closet.
I'll ask one of the questions I got sent to me.
Wait, sorry, and also a laundry. They did it in the kibbutz because I said it's a communal way of living. Also, the laundry. There is a laundry room. Everybody takes their laundry there, and they do it for you. So there's no laundry in here.
The house seems quite minimalist in design, and there isn't much furniture. Do you think this was a sign of the times? Was it a style of the desert? Was it just the way that Ben-Gurion liked to live?
I think it's just the way he liked to live. I have to say that it is a very small house, but it's actually quite big for that time. Most of the people in the kibbutz at that time had about half the size of this house. So this was quite big for the time. And this is how he styled the house. You know, the furniture, I'm guessing Paula was more involved. The colors of the walls, this is a color that Paula chose for the walls. And all the presents and stuff that are in the house is how he liked to decorate. It's what he wanted us to see. You know, there's plenty of other stuff in the cabinets and in the closets here, but he chose what he wanted us to see.
We've got a good question in the chat. Is Sde Boker still a functioning kibbutz?
So yeah, so actually there's still a laundry room. People usually, they take the laundry there. There's still a dining room for everyone. Of course, it's different. I think most of the people have already kitchens now in their house. But yeah, it's still a kibbutz. There are about 450 members of the kibbutz living here. So yeah, it's still quite a functioning kibbutz.
Very cool. So obviously you mentioned in the tour that Ben-Gurion went or came to the house in 1953 and then was called back to, I guess, political service.
Yes.
Got a few questions about that. So the first one is, were there any important military or political or security meetings that took place at the house?
Maybe could I interfere, Galit? Could I take this one? Hi,
Yeah, sure.
I'm Esther. I work with Galit. I'm here. Note the caricature behind me. Once again, thank you very much for making this happen. There's a famous story that Rabin came a few days before, Moshe Dayan visited Ben-Gurion a few days before the outbreak of the Six-Day War. Ben-Gurion was no longer, in office, to tell him that Israel was planning to attack. And the story goes that he came at 2:00 in the afternoon. He was resting, and Paula refused to wake him up. And Moshe Dayan said, "This is really, really urgent. You must wake him up." And Paula refused. She was very strict about his afternoon nap, and only after an hour did he wake up. And when he heard, Ben-Gurion was actually shocked, and he said, we should never attack, we should never preempt, we should only defend with the Israel Defense Forces. And he was actually scared that Israel would completely be annihilated. Thank God we know that this didn't happen, but this was one of the visits. But Ben-Gurion felt that he was actually quite bitter to an extent towards the end, because he wasn't included in a lot of the decisions. People didn't update him, he wouldn't come, but he was visited. So he didn't create another security house in Sde Boker. In Tel Aviv, he definitely had his room where he held meetings.
Yeah.
Right.
Esther, you muted yourself.
Sorry, I was just saying. Here he felt more disconnected. He wasn't connected to what was going on.
Yeah. Anyway, I saw, meanwhile, there are a few questions in the chat. I saw someone asked, where is it in Beersheba? So I'll kind of take advantage of the map. Beersheba is over here. And Sde Boker, when you go down, a bit more down, is over here. So it's a bit south of Beersheba. Today, it's about a 45-minute drive from where I am to Beersheba. I actually also saw a question about me. I just work here as a tour guide in Ben-Gurion's desert home. I was born in Israel, but my mom is American and my dad's from England. So we spoke English at home, and that's why I probably sound American to most of you guys. Are there any other questions that I missed, or more that they wrote before?
Couple that were sent to me. Do you know how they might have divided their time between the Tel Aviv home and Sde Boker in the years that he was still serving politically?
So most of the time, I think he was in Tel Aviv just because it was more convenient. But he used to come here to Sde Boker mostly like on the holidays. He liked to be here on his birthday. He used to come here more like on special occasions, just because it was more convenient to him to be in Tel Aviv when he was serving as prime minister.
Another one here. Is the library organized in any particular way?
So not really. We actually, about a year ago, we had to take all the books out as well, to get it like cleaned and like sprayed with special preservation magic spray. I don't know. So we took it out, and I was sure that there was going to be, this is Judaism books, and then this is my books, and then this is whatever, but not really. But there is a way that he did it. And when we put the books, we have to put the books back, and each book, it says exactly where it's supposed to be. like which cabinet, which row, from left to right, where it's supposed to be. So we had to put it exactly the same way. But I don't think there was like any sense about how he put the books.
What is your favorite book in the collection? And also, what do you think the craziest book in the collection is?
Well, I actually didn't really get a chance to look at exactly like all the books. But I know there's books here on the table that I found very interesting. Like the two books that I found the most surprising and interesting. There's a book here about judo and about yoga. You wouldn't think that a prime minister or someone will have books about these stuff, but they are. Another thing that actually, when I looked at it, it was actually, I actually got a bit like moved when I saw it. All these blue books over here, they're books about the record of the Parliament of Israel, of all their, their meetings and their stuff. So I looked here at the first one. Anyway, so that was very exciting to me to see, we're opening the first meeting of the Parliament of the Knesset of Israel. And then I saw it funny, they had a debate, and then they had a debate about if to stop or not stop the debate that they were having. And then a debate about to stop. Anyway, it was just ridiculous. So that was actually pretty moving for me. I like to look at that.
We've got another question in the chat. How far is his house from his grave?
It's about 5-minute drive. It's not that far. It's like 2 kilometers, maybe.
Cool.
5 kilometers, maybe. I suck at distance, but it's about 5 minutes.
I think we'll finish with one
Kevin.
question, unless there's any more in the chat.
Yes.
So the question is, what do you think the most amazing story from the house is, or from Ben-Gurion's time in the house?
Wow. So actually, a few months ago, there were women that live in the kibbutz that came here to do like an interview, that lived here during the time David Ben-Gurion lived here. And one of them was the nurse of the kibbutz. And a lot of people, they used to ask David Ben-Gurion to be the, sort of like the godfather, the guy who holds the baby while they do the brit. So a lot of people used to ask him to be that guy. And he hated every second of it. Like, it was disgusting. You can see pictures of him like holding the baby and he's like this, like looking away. So that nurse kept saying that, like every time she was holding his hand when it happened, she was like, it's almost over. It's almost done. You can look now, it's finished. And then, when it's done, he used to like turn around and he had a big smile on his face because it finished. So that's a story that I found very, very funny. And there's a lot of pictures of him, like holding the kids and he's like, ugh, like he's not looking and he's looking away. And then he smiles because it's finished. So that's a story that I really like.
If I could just add, if I just could add, hi, this is Esther again. I think what amazes me is that Ben-Gurion knows before he died, he knows that his house is going to be of interest, and he decides what's going to be on show. I mean, we really have practically not changed anything. He knows that people are going to visit, so he wants to transmit a message about Zionism, about pioneering, and that's why he places the exhibits where they are. It's not something that we decided to do after 1973. He has this historical awareness, and therefore I think that's why it's really it's still alive, because he still has these messages which he's transmitting, even though it's been over 40 years since he passed away, nearly 50 years. But I just want to say again, it's very special. You're in Australia, we're here in Israel, and yet we're meeting in the home. It's just Galit and us, and I think it's a special experience. And again, I'd like to thank again Charlene and Joseph for making it happen and for everyone to participating. And as far as the guest house, look up Kibbutz Sde Boker or Midrashet Ben-Gurion on internet, and I think they'll be very happy to host you. And hopefully we'll see each other. We'll see each other physically in person soon. Thank you to Galit. Thank you to Charlene. Over to you, perhaps.
Yeah, we're going to pass it on to Rabbi Rabin. I'm just going to spotlight his video.
Are there any other questions, or are we finished?
I think, yeah, I'm looking through the chat. I think that's it.
Okay.
So just a very quick word from me, and thank you for a beautiful presentation. And you keep, every time we keep doing these Zoom things with Israel, it keeps whetting our appetite more and more, and we can't wait till we can get back to the Holy Land, get back to visiting all the incredible places. I was privileged so many times to be in Israel on birthright with other missions. I was supposed to be this past year for a number of trips, and really seeing all these incredible things, as I said, just keeps us wanting more and more. And B'ezrat Hashem, we're able to go. And of course, it's wonderful to always do events together with Zionism Victoria, who promote and keep us all, I guess, plugged into Israel whilst we can't even be there. So thank you to Zionism Victoria for bringing us this wonderful event, and to everyone who's joined on Zoom. And from all of us at South Caulfield Shul, we just hope you have a wonderful rest of the week. And yeah, just keep connected, keep motivated, and we hope that everyone in Israel, now that all you guys are getting vaccinated very quickly, hopefully you can open up soon. Hopefully we can get vaccinated and we can build our connection once again. So wishing you all a wonderful night, and again, thank you for tonight.
Thank you for having me, guys. Have a good night.